Shalom. So we're going to talk about the core or the heart of black people's problem and the solution, because one of the reasons why we never can fix things in black communities is because we've never really get to the core of our problems. We're just dealing with symptoms, right? Now, why do you think black people spend so much on college and universities and education and so forth? Because they've been sold a narrative. And they believe in that so much to the point where it becomes their actual reality. And it doesn't matter how much you apply, it's not bringing solution, because that was never the real problem. We do not have an illiteracy problem. So therefore, education cannot be a solution. They've altered their perception of reality, created an illusion of a problem, and telling you that this is a solution. And because you can use this against other black people who do not have that education, that level of education, it seems as if it's working for you. Is it really working? No, it's not. It's an illusion. Everything that you're fighting for now, you get this education, you get this job, whatever you do, right? Does it stop the fighting for your children and your children's children? What you're fighting for now, when you get it, or if you already have it, does it stop that generational fight that you have been fighting for? Your fathers before you, your mothers before you. Will this be a solution? What reassurance can you give your children and your children's children that they will not have to fight like you? You see, our real problem is we have a birthright problem. We have a birthright problem. And the real thing that we should be fighting for is earth, water. They took away our birthrights. They took away everything from us. They denationalized us. And then they told us that the original people that belonged to this land were Indians. Really? Okay. In our wisdom, the scripture says the earth helped the woman. We know one way to use the earth is archaeology. Okay, where is the archaeological facts to confirm any form of relics or anything for the people called Arawaks or Tainos that ever lived here? You cannot find any because there was never any. Our ancestors were the real owners of this land. Those are the people the European came here and saw and destroyed them. And the ones that survived the massacre were captured as prisoners of wars. And the prisoners of war is what they turn into slaves. And they bring them under the dominion of Rome. And you turn them into slaves by giving them what? A new religion, a new God, a new way of life. And you bring them under the subjection of the British, which is the same as Rome. So once you start to teach them your narrative, the narrative of the slave masters, guess what? They don't see where they have any connection with the original owners of this land. So we don't even fight for land anymore. We're not fighting for birthrights anymore. What can you do without your birthright? Going out there to work a job? Now you have thousands, millions of dollars in the bank account. What happens when the central bank fails? What use will that money have to you or to your descendants, your children and their children's children? We need to be fighting for the right reasons. We need to connect back with our true power, the true power that lives inside us. You come in the volume of the book. So we have to get back the wisdom of our forefathers so we can fight for the right reasons. Stop fighting for education that they came up with. An education that cannot bring you back to your true nature. That cannot bring you back into the family you belong to, the history, the heritage. We have believed in their lies for too long, and this has been happening from ever since. The same old serpent that manipulated Eve is the same thing that we're seeing today. They get into the minds of our women, and then they weaponize our women against us. So now our women became agents for them, agents for white supremacy, agents for the system. So when you're fighting for a real cause, they cannot see that. You come in the volume of the book. But then the men would find favor in the sight of the earthly kings. Like, for example, you had Joseph would go into the house of the Pharaoh. Moses, all of these people would go in there and they would use wisdom to help their own people. Now, the serpent is very subtle. What it does is it creates a system to put the woman up, to elevate the woman. But the woman forget the wisdom, forget the reasons why they're placed in the situations that they're placed in the positions that they're placed in, that is supposed to help the other people. You saw this with Esther, the queen, when Xerxes, the Persian king, put her into the palace, right? She forget that that was her people out there. That's what she was supposed to help them. She did not understand that maybe the reason you are placed in that position is for this very day, that your people should not perish. But you have the king's ears. So you speak to him. You speak your wisdom into his spirit. All the men understood this. This is why the moment they rose to power, they start looking out for their nations. Our women need to use this very same wisdom and call to mind the spirit of their forefathers, the spirit of wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and use that to their advantage and not to separate themselves from the rest of the people because they have found favor in the sight of the earthly kings. The reason why the education system cannot be a solution, this is it. If you send your child to university, you send your son or daughter to university to study doctor, this person pilot, this person engineer, this person, all these different top careers, at the end of the day, they're only coming out to work a job. Now the next thing is, your child that you're sending to be a pilot, whose plane is he going to fly? Does your nation of people, black people, does your nation own airlines so that you know that when they get a job, when they get to their PhD or whatever it is for piloting, they are sure that the job is there waiting for them because their own people has that provided for them. You're studying to be an accountant. Do your people have firms that you're going to be the accountant for? Engineer, do your people have things that you're going to be building? You see the difference? All these other nations, they have these things. So when an Indian is studying to be a pilot, they have a lot of planes in their nations. Accountant, they have a lot of firms. So what they're studying, the job is already there in their own nation. When you send your people, your children to colleges, universities, you're only hoping that somebody of the other nation is going to serve for them and give them an opportunity. This is why you see it makes history when it says, okay, the first black woman to be this, the first black man to do that. Because our nation does not own anything for it to be a norm for black people to do these great things. No, I'm not saying it's a transgression for people to want to do these things, but there's something greater for us to fight for. And until we start fighting for birthright, instead of wanting to go build schools or build churches or whatever to keep just the teachings, just to continue the teaching, why don't we try to get lands instead? Get into the country areas. People can dwell together, eat real food. Worship our God, not through the eyes of the Western concept or not through the eyes of Christianity, but our ancient ways, so we can revive the spirits of our forefathers back in us. So when it's time for war, the spirit of such and such will be upon us. When it's time for knowledge, that spirit will be upon us. When it's time for healing, we understand our own herbs, medicines, all of these healing rituals. That spirit be upon us, so we can become a nation again. And we're not saying, okay, all the people need to be gathered together in one place, but wherever you are, it's still going to be a little sanctuary. So even if 4 families come together, 3 families come together, that's a little sanctuary in itself, wherever you are. We're not trying to get all the people one place where they can just come and fly over, release some thing and poison us all. We're not doing that. They've divided us. And you know, when you look at it, the atrocities of slavery, what it did not do, you know what accomplished it? Welfare. During slavery, being a slave, you know, the slave master or the slave mistress can sleep with whoever they want. That did not put a wedge between the black man and the black woman. As a slave, the only thing you were waiting for is Sunday, where you can go to see your wife or go to see your husband. Monday, you go back to work, 6 days again, and your mind is only on Sunday, where you can go back and see your wife. That never put a wedge between the black man and the black woman. You know what did? Welfare. The moment they took the black woman from among black men and integrated them into their culture, that's when the true destruction started. Because you hear a lot of people say, okay, the black man money is not enough or whatever it is, right? This is the power of the black woman. If the black man is earning $10, she knows how to pay the bills with it, to find food, to take care of the children, to take care of whatever medicinal things she needed to do. She had that wisdom naturally. So the money not enough was never a problem for black woman. Even if he was making $1, she would know exactly how to divide that $1, that the home would be sustained by that $1. If, just like you were able to put out the man for the welfare because the man money is not enough. Now, what if you were not getting those welfare grants in that time, those medicals and those monies and all of the? What if you were not rewarded with those, and the man was only earning $10? Would you still put out the man? That's an honest question. Would you do it? So you see, you do the deed, the serpent give you the reward. Because if it wasn't for the reward, you wouldn't have done it. The scripture says, do not accept gifts, because gifts blind the mind. And those are the things we keep accepting from the serpent. You have been placed in society for a reason. you have to come to the knowledge and understanding of that reason so you can manifest the great works that you're placed there to do. Not to go there to neglect your own people or your tribesmen. They have done enough of separating us. They separated the man from the woman, the parents from the children. And you see this also back with the Maroon people. Because if you remember the history of the Maroons, right? The Maroons were at war with the British. Then they became ally because the English couldn't conquer them, right? Now, how did they get the Maroon children to turn from the parents? It's very simple. Once I can get you exposed to a knowledge that is contrary to the knowledge of your people, that is enough for me to conquer your people. Because now you're going to take the lie that I'm giving you and you're going to sow it among the minds of your own people. So I don't need to come into your camp to do that. I just need one person that I can trust, that I can sow the seed of lie in his or her heart. And that one seed will bring forth many fruits. Now back to the Maroons. The Maroons would only know their way of life because they would dwell in a certain area given to them. Right? Now, afterwards, what do you think the serpent did? The serpent gave them electricity. Okay, electricity. What does that have to do with anything? It has everything to do with everything. Because once you get the electricity, next comes the radio. What information is being put out on the radio? It's not the culture or the knowledge of the Maroons. It's going to be the culture or the knowledge of other people. So now the younger ones are going to take on to what they're getting from the radio. Now once they're taking on to that, they're exposed to a life outside there, outside of their garden. Now when they look back to the people inside the garden, they're going to see like, you're beyond time, that's all. What, you're really still doing this? Come on. Now you get televisions. Now you're seeing things. Alter your perception even more. So all of these are just methods of infiltration. And once you get a child hooked on that for a few years, guess what? You demoralize them. Now they have the school system. They can go out there in the school systems. They get in this so-called education that works contrary to the knowledge of their forefathers. So by the time they get 18 and they finish high school, they're already demoralized. You don't believe? Here's an example. We know the Western world is a Christian society, and we know black people's connection with the book, right? Now you take them and you teach them about Yahawashai and the Hamashiach. They have already been taught that Jesus and Christ is the same thing. But when you go back and read the book of Luke, it tells you that the child that would be born would be called Yahawashai, Jesus. Nowhere, no one ever knows the child as the Christ or the Hamashiach. And even if they go back to read the Bible again, no, and they see that the name of that child was only called Yahawashai, they will still not accept it. We are so demoralized that truth, evidence, reality, proof, none of that has no meaning anymore. That's what demoralization is. That's what they did to us. So it doesn't matter what you put forth in front of these people. Makes no difference. So that's exactly what happens throughout the school system and the religious system of this Western society. Family means history. And if you're taking on a knowledge that cannot lead you back to your family, then that knowledge is contrary to you and your people. Now there's bills, there's responsibilities and all of that. So yes, if you have to work a job and whatever, you have to do what you have to do. We understand that. But in the process, remember who you are. Remember what you are. Remember who your people are. You see, Moses was in the house of Pharaoh. Greater than having a job is like you being in the White House. But Moses remembered his people. Joseph remembered his people. All of them remembered what happened to the black men and the black women who are being placed in the house of Pharaoh today. Sitting in the king's seat, they have become the king. So now they rule over us with an iron fist. They are now the word and the will of our oppressors. We have a greater problem than illiteracy. So we're going to need more than education. We're going to need real education, real knowledge. Knowledge of who we are, what we are, the power that we wield in our spirit to take what is rightfully ours through subtlety. Because it's not by power or military might, but through knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We need to fight for the right reasons. No longer should we fall for their tactics of divisions, separation. But then they would make all the black men die poor. No, what they did was what? They adjusted the finish line a bit. So now 1 and 2 man can die with money. So then they can blame the other. So 5% of man now have money. They can blame the other 95 for, okay, why aren't you? We did it, so why can't you do it? That's an illusion. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for these celebrities talking about you can be whatever you want, you can do whatever you want. That's madness. That's an illusion. If so be the case, tell them to go and buy lands for black people who want to go off grid, to be away from the system. Tell them to take their money out of the white man's bank and invest in that. Invest in black people who want to live a revolutionary life, since they can do whatever they want. That's an illusion. We don't take counsel from celebrities. We don't take counsel from people who do not walk in our path. We take counsel from people who can come down to our level and understand reality as it is. The rich cannot dictate life for the poor. Never. They don't know what's the price of a toothpaste. They don't know what's the price of a bread. How can they dictate things for us? We have to take our power back. We have to take our kingdom back. We have to take our throne back. A lot of you being indoctrinated to sit and wait and to go to heaven, or sit and wait to get into a kingdom. No, the kingdom is the spirit within you. David was anointed king, but the land of Jerusalem was already there. It's not about the physical kingdom or the geographical location. It's the spirit within you. You have to fight. Fight the real fight, not the illusions that they give you to fight for. We're not going to fight for road. We're not going to fight for water. We're not going to fight for this and fight for that. That's the government's job. The first thing, you have an island, you want to build a road around the coast. So that means you can do what? Watch for attackers, invaders. You build ports. You build defenses. That's a natural job of a leader. We're not gonna go out there and fight for road. You develop that, then you want to build roads inland. To do what? You want to secure your what do you call it? Where you transport goods and so forth. Trade. You want to secure your trading route. That's their job as a leader. They're not leaders. They're agents. How can we take counsel from them? We need to stop fighting for a heaven that they painted for us up there. Our God is in everything. He's omniscient, He's omnipotent, He's everything and everywhere. He's in the earth, the soil, the plants, the herbs, the waters, the seas, rivers, the lakes, the heavens beyond the realms, dimensions, the fire. He's everywhere. Do not bound Him to the heavens only. That's their concept of God, not our concept. We need to rise to our true power, resurrect the spirit in us, and go forth and manifest. Shalom.